Showtime. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show. This week, our guest is an accomplished actor, producer, and business owner. He's a man with a lot going on, and we're excited to have him on the show. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show, Roger Dorman. Roger, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Oh, we're very glad to have you. And I'm curious because I know that I just said in the intro, you're a business owner, but you actually got your acting opportunity while you were on business. Tell us that story. What happened?
Sure. It was actually for a separate business of mine and more of an investment, but me and my business partner actually are major shareholders of a gold company, publicly traded gold company based out of South America. And while at a shareholder meeting, I got asked to go to dinner with a gentleman who's one of the board members. And we're sitting at dinner and he looked across the table at me. He's like, "Hey, I've got a part in a movie that I'd love to have you in. Would you be interested?" So of course I laughed that off and just let him know that the only acting I've ever done was when I was in kindergarten, and that I was the lead in the school play, but it was for the Christmas show. So I think I had one line.
So you had not thought about acting prior to that at all?
Well, I certainly had thought of acting, thought it would be amazing. I mean, I think all of us kind of fantasize what it would be like to be in the shoes of a Brad Pitt or a Scarlett Johansson, whoever, I mean, anybody that's in that, I guess, that world of fame makes it appealing to those of us who are looking on the outside. So it's just something that I never really thought of and just got carried away with doing other things in my life, focused on building my life. So this certainly came out of left field at me.
Roger, one thing I've noticed since it came out of left field with some of the roles that I've seen you in, you seem to, whether it's in Karen or Cheer for Your Life, you seem to play a lot of different law enforcement roles. So what's it like, playing those type of roles, and what kind of preparation goes into it?
Well, that's coincidence that it's been law enforcement roles, and the next 4 or 5 that I'm currently cast in are definitely not law enforcement. But regardless, the preparation is intense. The roles that I was in were pretty intense. At least 2 of the 3, it was pretty intense stuff. So I'm one of those guys. Call me a method actor, call me some kind of hybrid of that, whatever, where you take your life, your real life, and you basically dissect your life that matches the individual scenes and roles and the emotional obligations that are tied to my life. And then I get to relive that life, practice it over and over again. And once I've dialed in the emotions, which sometimes it takes quite a bit of time because you don't really want to dredge up negative emotions and whatever, but you eventually get there, and then you tie it to the words of the scene, and then you tie in the actions. So you do all of this meticulously before you ever walk on set. At least that's what I do with my acting coach there I do it over Skype now, but was doing it with her in Beverly Hills. So that's the effort. You literally leave no stone unturned, and you just go for it.
It's funny you say that, because I think a lot of people will watch a movie or watch a television show and say, I could do that, because the people that are acting have done all that work. And so they make it look very natural, very easy. But and I know, and Bill knows that it isn't that easy, that it does take a lot more going into it. That said, when you have to play a character that's, say, less than savory, is there any trepidation for you?
For sure. I was scared to death going into Karen. you know, here's a racist guy, he's a cop on top of it. We already know all the issues surrounding some not so great deals that happened with cops, controversial roles, and then tie in racism with it, tie in police brutality. And it was very scary for me. You know, it's something that I don't think even too many actors would really want that role. Probably some of them would have turned it down, quite honestly.
And her brother.
We have a search warrant.
What I do? You can't tell me, huh?
We are living next door to a racist.
You went in her house?
You wouldn't want your wife to know our little secret, right?
That was not standard police procedure back there.
What do we have here?
We got a hammer. Everything looks like nails.
With that said, there is one thing. Anybody can act. They can. But I don't think most would want to if they really knew what went into it. We act every day, every one of us. In fact, the way you communicate throughout your day and doing your thing, you would get an Academy Award if you were needing to be you in a movie, because you're perfectly you. So everybody has it in them to be that, but not everybody has the emotional desire or capacity to go through the hell that is required to actually pull that out and then do it naturally, and then suppress the nerves that you're doing in front of 50 other people standing around set. Because there's not just a cameraman and you and the director. No, there's an audience always on set, involving everybody from crew to visitors to friends and family of certain people that come on set at different times to obviously all the important producers and such that are backing the thing. So it's pretty intense. So dealing with all of that, that's where things get more difficult.
Do you get in your head when you audition? How is that process for you? Do you psych yourself out with all that? Oh, they're looking at me, and like how is your focus?
When I'm auditioning, and usually they have us send in a tape. It's not, live auditions really aren't a thing anymore. They'll say, okay, I will give you a couple of days, have it to us by such and such a deadline, 5 o'clock on Thursday or something. And so I'll work with my coach to prepare a tape, and we'll do it, 200-300 times till we get it right. And then we'll both agree, okay, this was the take that we liked the best. But before doing that, we will have done it 500 times till we feel like I'm capable of actually doing the right take. And then from there, we'll start recording and decide which one we take. So it's a process. And anytime someone asks me, yeah, can you send in a tape? It's not as easy as that. I mean, the producers want it to be that easy, but it's really not if you want to give them something that stands out above and beyond the rest.
Definitely.
And it's not like you're getting weeks or months to prepare. In many of these cases, if you're lucky, you might get 48 hours to get it in.
Yeah. In fact, what I would say on a tape, they're getting maybe 40% of what I'm really going to bring to the table. But that 40% is a lot better than most people's 10 or 15% when they're trying to pretend to be in that moment, delivering that scene. Most producers understand that, and what they're really looking for is they're looking for the look, the sound of the person, and then they're seeing the possibility of that person in that role. And if they can see all three of those things, they know that they may have another 2 or 3 months to prepare for the actual role, or a year in some cases. But whatever the case is, they understand that. But that's the only thing they can go off of. So you can't take that lightly, and you have to give everything you can to deliver it, because that's the only chance you're going to get in front of them.
That's a great point. It's a great way to look at it. And now you've been on the other side of the camera as a producer and an executive producer. Can you explain to our audience what the difference is?
Sure. Well, I always thought that executive producers were like the bosses. Executive producers are not. They're not the ones making the film. They're the ones that are simply investing in a film. It's the money behind the film. So anytime you see executive producer, just know those are the ones that put money into it. And then you've got the producers and other versions of producer. Those are the people that are actually involved in making the film. And even producers, they divide up their roles just like you would any company. one producer is over raising the funds and the finances of it, as well as the debt loan scenarios, all the contracts, all that stuff. Another producer's over the production, so they're literally in charge of the production itself. And another maybe over creative, and there's a line producer who's specifically focused on making sure that what people don't know is when we receive a script, not only do we receive a script, we also know how many lines we have in the movie, how many scenes we have, any other things that we have that may or may not be speaking parts, but are still part of scenes. And all that stuff has to be broken down to very fine detail. And that's the lines producer's responsibility to handle all that stuff. So everybody has a role in the movie, and depending upon what they have, whether it's investing or finance or in charge of the financing or contracts or actually producing or actually putting together the film itself, depends upon what title they get.
Definitely a lot going on there, but you have invested as an executive producer in Breach, I believe.
Yep.
What makes you say I'm going to invest in one over another?
Well, in the case of Breach, it's Bruce Willis.
Okay.
You know, he's his value in the marketplace. We know that he will sell. We know that people want to see his movies, and that's the reason. So on certain movies, if I had been given an opportunity, it doesn't mean, I mean, every movie makes money, but they may not make all the money back. Or it may be that certain debt lenders they're usually the ones that are the first ones to get paid back. So some huge studio or huge distributor for movies will dump $5 million into a movie, but they'll expect a certain percentage back, and they'll expect to be paid back first, their entire amount plus their interest, before other investors even get paid back. So depending upon how far back in the line you are as an investor, whether it's an equity producer, an equity investor or a debt investor, those are different too. And again, those are all based upon where you fit in the lineup of getting paid back. So I would just say it's a great opportunity. At the same time, be shrewd, because not all opportunities are necessarily the best opportunities for investors.
Absolutely. Well, I just, for what it's worth, I just happened to have watched Breach over the past weekend, and you're right. Bruce Willis was great in the movie. He really was. He reminded me to some degree of his character in Armageddon in certain aspects of it, but definitely not for the faint of heart. And I love action movies, so it was right up there. I really enjoyed it. So I think you invested wisely there on that one, Roger.
Sure.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about was that from looking at your Instagram page and just from things we've seen and heard, you really seem to enjoy spending time with your kids. So, which I can relate to as a dad. So my question for you is being a dad your favorite role?
Absolutely. There's nothing more important in this life to me than spending time with my children. There's literally nothing. So I would drop any role or opportunity if one of my children needed me. So, I mean, I say that without apology. The family's where it's at, and everything else is second place to that.
Now, Roger, you've been kind of blessed to have been busy with a lot of projects the past few years. What have you got coming up, and what kind of roles are you going to play?
Well, I'm cast in 5 movies right now, two of which I can actually talk about.
As a fellow actor, I'm jealous.
Well, so all of these are filming in 2022. I have one called Armistice, which is a incredible story about President Dwight D. Eisenhower and his interaction, believe it or not, with extraterrestrials. There's actually historical documentation of that. And this movie is a combination of a timepiece mixed with historical facts about his involvement. And our executive producer on the project is Laura Eisenhower, which is his granddaughter. So she's actually been consulting us with that particular film. So we're pretty excited about that. And another project is a project called Bird's Eye. Bird's Eye is a spy thriller, kind of takes us back in the day, back in the Putin day, where, and you've probably seen the movie or heard of the movie Red Sparrow. It's similar, well, excuse me, it's not similar to that, but it's based off the same concept that there were these spies coming out of Russia in the form of men and women that used sex and other things to get in with U.S. government officials and so forth. In fact, that's based off the book Sexpionage. And so there's some exciting opportunity there for me. I'm actually in the role of a U.S. senator who deals directly with one of those women. So it should be kind of exciting.
Let me ask you this, Roger. They sound like some great roles and great projects coming up. If you were to pick your dream role, what do you think it would be, and who would be your dream co-star?
I think it would be an action adventure role. I'm a physical guy. I would, maybe me and some other stud action guy that we get into it against each other or something, or we're fighting for our lives in some way, or an awesome female actress that same thing, where she's just rolls up her sleeves and is as tough as me and then some. It would just be cool to be in that kind of an action adventure where it's us against the world kind of thing. I mean, you take your pick. I would be honored to work with any of the incredible actors or actresses out there.
That's a great answer. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, well, you know, from what I've read, they're working on Expendables 4, and there's probably going to be Expendables 5. So you got all the great action stars of all time in that series of movies.
I think you have to be someone or know somebody to be invited there. That they got quite the list of stars.
Oh yeah.
Well, Roger, it definitely sounds like you are more than well on your way. So congratulations on everything you've been doing and the projects you have coming up. They sound really great. I'm actually looking forward to seeing them when they do come out. And we're really happy to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your stories with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Folks, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.